My name's Angie Francis. I live in Southfields in South London, and I was diagnosed as celiac 2 years ago this month. And so for 2 years I've been following a gluten-free diet. My symptoms I think were quite unusual. I was anemic, I had stomach problems, I also had a number of other autoimmune diseases. I had autoimmune hepatitis, thyroidism, and in a blood test to check for other autoimmune diseases it turned up celiac disease. And it turns out that I may have been celiac for so long that it triggered other autoimmune diseases because I haven't been diagnosed. Yeah, I suffered from a bloated stomach. I just felt really uncomfortable after I'd eaten a lot of the time. I had a blood test and it suggested that I was a celiac. I was then sent for an endoscopy and biopsy, and within a week I was called back to say that I was celiac. I had to see a dietitian and I was told to be gluten-free from that day onwards. The endoscopy it sounds awful. They put a tube down through your throat into your stomach and then take a biopsy of the lining just below the stomach. In reality, you can have sedation, and I honestly don't remember a thing about it at all. It's really not a bad experience at all. Well, the blood test can have a false result. So the endoscopy shows that the lining just below your stomach will have been attacked if you are celiac and you've been eating gluten. So if they take a sample of the lining, they can see that it's been attacked by eating gluten. Well, mine was diagnosed by accident. However, I had been going to the doctors with anemia for at least 10 years, possibly 15 years. I was tested for all sorts of things, but no one ever tested me for celiac disease, and I understand that one of the main causes of anemia in women is celiac disease. Had I been diagnosed earlier as a celiac, there's a chance I might not have developed other autoimmune diseases, but I'll never know now. So I would say, if your doctor doesn't suggest the blood test, suggest it yourself, and if your doctor's against it, then change to a different doctor. I thought I was 100% healthy. I've never been in hospital, I'd never really had any health problems. And then in November 2006 I started to go yellow, which was a bit alarming. First of all, I thought it was a strange suntan, but I was in quite a lot of pain, and then also my skin started to itch, and I was passed around through maybe 5 or 6 different doctors. Eventually saw a skin doctor who said, you have liver failure, and that's because your immune system is attacking your liver, which a blood test showed. And that was such a bombshell when they said, oh, and also, by the way, you're a celiac. I really had no idea what they were talking about, and I was more concerned about my liver, to be honest. So the celiac disease has become for me a way to control everything without having to take drugs. It's just controlled by diet, and really that's a good thing, I think. Well, when you're first diagnosed as a celiac, you're sent to see a dietitian. The dietitian for me, although she was lovely, was quite a negative experience. She told me everything I couldn't eat and told me to throw away my toaster, my chopping board, my utensils, and I was horrified. I thought, my life's over, I'm never going to eat out again, I'm never going to have another biscuit as long as I live. And I ate rice cakes really for the first 2 to 3 weeks, And then I just thought, this is miserable, I'm not happy, I'm going to look into what else I can eat. And then once you start to do that, it's a challenge, it's a really steep learning curve. One of the challenges is learning to cook things that you can't buy. For example, fish and chips. I really wanted fish and chips, and I kept on at my partner and said I'm desperate for fish and chips, and so he invented a gluten-free fish and chips for me. And that's a way to turn something negative into something positive, I think. You are forced to learn to cook, you're forced to look at labels and realise how much rubbish is in the food you eat and question why you ever ate that food in the first place. You're forced to evaluate your diet and how varied or non-varied it is. And so I think actually this for me has turned into something positive. My diet's improved 100%. I've learnt to cook. I've learnt to look at what's in my food and really only eat the best quality foods. And so for me it's turned into quite a good experience. My experience in the supermarkets varies. Some supermarkets, such as Sainsbury's, have the gluten-free or suitable for celiac symbol on a lot of their foods, which makes it a lot easier for someone like me. You can see at a glance if something's okay to eat. I would also check the label as well, just to make sure. Other shops are developing their ranges, I think. In the time that I've been diagnosed, shops such as Tesco and Asda have relaunched their free-from brands. In the past I tended to make a beeline for the free-from section, but then I realised that I can still eat fruit and vegetables, I can still eat meat. As in the first few times I went shopping, I took my Coeliac UK directory, and it took me about 4 hours to get around the supermarket, and then you get to know what brands to look for, the brands that you can eat that taste nice, and then you just stop off briefly at the free-from section and pick up some treats on the way to the till. So although at first it was a chore, I think it's just redirected me to the aisles where I should have been in the first place, such as the fruit and vegetable aisles. I think everyone should follow Sainsbury's idea and have the gluten-free logo on their products. I just think it makes it so much easier, not only for me, but for people who cater for me. If a friend invites me round for dinner, I can say to them to look out for this symbol, and they're a lot more confident about cooking for me, or even say buying me crisps to eat or something. It's always good for supermarkets to expand their free-from ranges, and also I think some supermarkets are developing their own products, but there are smaller companies who are developing gluten-free products, or whose products are naturally gluten-free, and some supermarkets such as Waitrose stock a lot of smaller company products, which is always good to try. I think when you're first diagnosed as celiac, you miss the variety, and so anywhere you can get the variety of different products is a bonus. Well, I can see, especially in the current climate, I can see that there's a demand for cheap products. However, I think that people need to think about what they're eating, and manufacturers should be producing top quality food that doesn't need to be filled out. I mean, I can see that there's a demand for cheap sausages, for example, but why would you want to eat a sausage that's filled with rubbish? I would rather eat a product that contained more meat and was better for me personally, and I think manufacturers should recognise that. It's changed my life in lots of ways actually. I feel so much better, and I'm sure that that's not just because I am not eating gluten anymore, although obviously that's an immediate result, but I'm eating more healthily, and I'm sure that's changed my energy levels, it's made me feel and look better. It's made me more adventurous in things I eat. It's made me chat to chefs in restaurants and get to know my local restaurants, which has increased my confidence. And I think when you have increased confidence, then you feel better health-wise as well. So my life has improved 100%, I would say, since I was diagnosed.